We've been hearing a lot of buzz lately about the Raiders. Yesterday, ESPN's Adam Schefter appeared on the Pat McAfee show and shared his thoughts on the team's situation. One hot topic was the involvement of Tom Brady, who's now a partial owner of the Raiders. Another big discussion? The possibility of Ben Johnson joining the team as head coach. While many are hyping up the idea of Ben Johnson heading to Las Vegas, Schefter wasn't exactly sold on it. Even Vincent Bonsignore tweeted earlier that there's growing momentum around Johnson becoming the Raiders' next coach. But Schefter threw some cold water on the excitement, explaining why he thinks this job might be a tough sell for Johnson. He pointed out a big issue. The Raiders don't have a solid quarterback right now. They also lack a top draft pick to grab a promising QB. So, whoever takes this job will have to solve the quarterback problem, and that's no easy task. Schefter added, "Good luck with that." He mentioned that while Ben Johnson will likely land a head coaching job soon, the Raiders' job might not be the best choice. Imagine passing on Jaden Daniels last year and then taking on the huge challenges of coaching in the AFC West, a division stacked with tough competition. Sure, having Tom Brady as a draw sounds exciting, but according to Schefter, the Raiders have a long way to go to become competitive. Schefter's main point? The Raiders' job might be one of the hardest gigs available in this hiring cycle. Adam Schefter made it clear why he doesn't think the Raiders' job is very appealing right now. He called it a tough sell for both coaches and general managers. The team is in one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL, the AFC West, and faces serious challenges. First, the Raiders are in a tough spot when it comes to securing a franchise quarterback. With the 6th overall draft pick, their chances of landing a top-tier quarterback aren't great. On top of that, the AFC West is stacked with star players like Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and rising talent. And let's not forget the legendary head coaches in the division like Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and others. For anyone stepping into the role, turning things around in this environment won't be easy. Schefter also brought up an interesting point about Ben Johnson. Last season, Johnson had the chance to take the head coaching job with the Washington Commanders, but he turned it down. The Commanders had a clearer path to securing a great quarterback like Jaden Daniels, but that option isn't as likely with the Raiders. It's worth noting, though, that Schefter's comments seemed more like his personal opinion than insider information. One positive he did highlight? Tom Brady. Schefter believes that Brady's involvement as a partial owner is the only reason the Raiders even have a chance to attract Ben Johnson. Without Brady, Johnson probably wouldn't have even taken a meeting with the team. That said, reports suggest the Raiders were impressed after meeting with Johnson. From their perspective, they like what they see and seem eager to bring him on board. Talks about Ben Johnson joining the Raiders appear to be gaining momentum, but Schefter's viewpoint reminds us of the challenges ahead. Ultimately, his concerns about the Raiders' situation are hard to ignore. It's far from ideal. When you compare the Raiders to other potential opportunities for Ben Johnson, it's clear the Raiders are a strong contender. Personally, I think it's going to come down to the Raiders and the Chicago Bears. The Bears do have one big advantage: Caleb Williams, a young, talented quarterback with huge potential. However, the Raiders bring more to the table in other areas. We have more draft capital, a higher draft pick, and extra picks overall this year. On top of that, we have more cap space and no general manager right now, which gives Johnson the flexibility to truly shape the team to his vision. In comparison, the Bears and Jaguars both have GMs in place, which could limit how much influence Johnson would have. The Jaguars are also tied to Trevor Lawrence as their quarterback, and it's unclear how Johnson feels about building a team around him. The quarterback situation is the biggest question mark for the Raiders. We don't have a clear answer there yet, but everything else looks promising. With Tom Brady in the building as a partial owner, the Raiders now have a level of credibility they didn't have before. Brady's presence alone could be a game changer in attracting someone like Johnson. Schefter also brought up the fact that Johnson passed on the Washington Commanders' job last year, which seemed like a better opportunity at the time. It's unclear why he turned it down, but this offseason might be different. With rumors that Johnson could command a salary of $15 to $20 million per year, it's hard to see him walking away from this chance to take the reins in Las Vegas. The NFL is unpredictable, and timing is everything. If Ben Johnson doesn't seize this opportunity, he risks losing his momentum. Imagine if the Detroit Lions, after a stellar season or even a Super Bowl appearance, experience a slump next year. That could reduce his appeal as a head coach candidate. Right now, Johnson is one of the most sought-after names in the league, and this offseason is his best chance to secure a head coaching role. The big question is, where does he go? Will it be the Raiders, the Bears, or the Jaguars? Personally, I think the Raiders remain a top contender. Adam Schefter mentioned the challenges, like the tough AFC West division and the Raiders' unsettled quarterback situation. But there's more to the story. Reports suggest the Raiders are willing to offer Johnson a 6-year deal. That kind of commitment signals the team is ready to build for the long term, not expecting a quick fix. Tom Brady's involvement as a partial owner also gives the Raiders an edge. His presence adds credibility and could attract the kind of players and staff Johnson needs to succeed. If Johnson signs with the Raiders, fans will need to be patient. It's unlikely he'll turn the team around in a single season. When it comes to the draft, the Raiders have options. They might not aggressively pursue a quarterback this year if they don't see the right fit. Instead, they could roll with Aidan O'Connell for now and focus on the 2026 draft, which is expected to feature a deeper pool of quarterback talent. Adam Schefter didn't hold back when sharing why he thinks the Raiders' job isn't an appealing option for Ben Johnson. He highlighted the missed opportunity with Jaden Daniels, which came up later in the interview as an intriguing point. Take a listen to what he said. Jaden Daniels is one of those generational quarterbacks. You're not finding that kind of talent in this year's draft, and the Raiders don't even have the draft pick to go after someone like him. Last year, there was speculation that the Raiders were interested in trading for Jaden Daniels, but as it turns out, they never even made the call. That revelation is pretty surprising. It seems the Raiders had no intention of pursuing Daniels, despite the media speculation. While it's easy to look back in hindsight, this raises questions about missed opportunities. Many believe Washington wouldn't have traded the pick anyway, but the fact that the Raiders didn't even try is disappointing. Some fans wonder if this was one of the reasons former GM Dave Ziegler was fired. After all, Antonio Pierce reportedly wanted Jaden Daniels, and there was a lot of excitement about Daniels' potential. This missed opportunity might not matter in the long run, especially with a new regime now in charge, but it's hard not to view it as a blemish on the Raiders' decision-making at the time. Jaden Daniels' potential as a franchise quarterback can't be overstated. While trading up for him would have been challenging, it was still Tom Ziegler's responsibility to make the phone calls and explore the possibility. According to Adam Schefter, those calls never happened. This raises a bigger question. Was trading up for a quarterback ever in Ziegler's plans? If he didn't inquire about Jaden Daniels, did he even attempt to call about prospects like Michael Penix Jr. or others? It seems Ziegler may have been content to hope a quarterback would fall to the Raiders at the 13th pick. When that didn't happen, he went with the best player available and selected Brock Bowers, which turned out to be an excellent pick. Credit where it's due. Still, This story is pretty surprising, and it makes me wonder if Ziegler's reluctance to aggressively pursue a quarterback played a role in his dismissal. While it's unlikely this was the main reason, it may have contributed to the decision. The Raiders clearly have a bigger vision, bringing in Ben Johnson as head coach and pairing him with a general manager who shares his vision. By moving on from Ziegler, the Raiders have created a clean slate for Johnson should he take the job. He'd have the chance to implement his offensive system, assemble his coaching staff, and establish a new regime, something he likely wouldn't have as much freedom to do with the Chicago Bears or Jacksonville Jaguars. That said, Adam Schefter's perspective still holds weight. The Raiders' job is far from ideal, and it's clear there are significant challenges ahead. The Raiders are undoubtedly in a tough division, competing against quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and Bo Nix. While Mahomes is undeniably elite, Herbert and Nix, in my opinion, haven't yet reached that same level. This year's playoffs showed that, but the division remains stiff competition regardless. Hiring Ben Johnson would be a calculated risk. He's never been a head coach before, so it's uncertain how he'll handle a leadership role. However, if you give him 6 years, a clean slate, and all the necessary resources, he'll have the time to build something meaningful without feeling pressured to produce instant results. The prospect of pairing Ben Johnson with Tom Brady is especially intriguing. Both are exceptional football minds, Johnson as an innovative play caller, and Brady with over 20 years of experience playing quarterback at the highest level. Brady has faced every defensive scheme imaginable, and that knowledge would be invaluable to Johnson as he builds his system and culture with the Raiders. Imagine Ben Johnson and Tom Brady working together, bouncing ideas off one another. It could be something truly special for the Raiders. Yes, the situation will be challenging, but I still believe the Raiders are one of the frontrunners to land Johnson. Ultimately, it seems to come down to a choice between the Raiders and the Chicago Bears. The deciding factor? It might boil down to how much Johnson believes in Caleb Williams and whether he feels he can unlock Williams' full potential at the quarterback position. Raider Nation, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Adam Schefter's take on Ben Johnson potentially joining the Raiders? Let me know your opinions in the comments below. If you're new to the channel and love Raider-related content like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, Raider Nation, and I'll see you in the next one.